Thank you again for tuning in to Interview with DJ Nocturna. It is such an honor to have on my show. One
I
of,
was going to say the same thing.
yeah, one of the founding members of an amazing band called Lusitanian Ghosts. His name is Neil Leyton, and along with Micke Ghost, and that's really is that really his name?
No,
Ghost?
no. Mickey's name is Mikael Lundin.
Okay,
But
okay.
when we
What
met,
a cool name.
no, you know what happened when we met, like back in 2005, I think. I went to Sweden. So I was living in Canada at the time, and the first time I tried to record a record on digital technology, the hard drive crashed. So I lost everything. And I had this friend in Stockholm that said, forget that digital stuff. Come to Sweden. I got you a backing band and we'll record everything again on tape, because all I had was rough mixes. And this was like rock and roll days, right? So I go to Sweden and I'm introduced to this guitarist called Micke Ghost. And I was like, oh, okay, is that you, Micke Ghost? All right. And he was an amazing player. And so we recorded my Betrayal of the Self album, and we toured extensively throughout Europe over the next, 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe. And then all fast forward to like 2016 when we started Lusitanian Ghosts. It was kind of because the chordophones, which we'll talk about, I'm sure later, the chordophones disappeared. So the chordophones are the Ghost, but also Micke the Ghost playing the viola marantina. It had to be the Lusitanian Ghost. You know what I mean?
No, it's you guys picked the perfect name. I really everything I'm seeing here, I know you have an album that you released in 2022 called Exotic Chaotic.
Yeah.
And that is so, oh my God, that's a genius title. Just everything, Lusitania Goes. I mean, it's just perfect the way you put this all together. And then just what you're doing for Portugal and the music industry, bringing back to life, I guess, this chordophones, right? In your own way.
Yeah, we're trying to. They were sort of the lost cousins of the cavaquinho, which went around and became the ukulele and stuff. But these ones, they're bigger than the cavaquinho and the ukulele, and they're sort of a mid-size between the ukulele and the normal 6-string guitars everybody knows. And they're called the regional popular violas. They were used for folk singers. Or dancing. Some of them were used to sort of as rhythm instruments for dancing. And you drive 100 kilometers and you find a different one with different tunings and different string arrangements. And so in the north, you have the Amarantina and the Braguesa. In the center, you have the Tuaira and the Beiroa from Castelo Branco region. In the southern continental Portuguese region of Alentejo, you have the Campanissa. And then in the islands, you have the Terceira from the Azores. And so there's all these different ones. And I was just, when I moved back to Portugal after years and years of playing rock and roll, I moved back to my hometown of Lisbon, and I was like, I inherited a couple of these things from my grandpa. And I was like, whoa, what are these, And I have to say, when I moved back here, I kind of stopped writing songs for a while. And then Micke Ghost came to visit, and we played a show on the beach on the beach of Ericeira, which is about half an hour north of Lisbon. And we opened up for a really cool Portuguese band called Primitive Reason. And when we opened up for Primitive as a duo, that's when we decided to start Lusitanian Ghosts. But back then we were still playing regular 6-string guitars, And then I bought a viola marantina and I took it to Stockholm and gave it to Micke Ghost. And it was a viola marantina is like a 10-string chordophone with a very strange way to tune. There's 2 different ways to tune it, but they're both really awkward because you have to learn a whole new language in terms of how to. And so he got on YouTube playing the Stones. You can't always get what you want on the Amarantina. And I was like, oh, that works. Let's do that, And so, that's how it started.
So, I know there's so many different instruments, but how, I mean, do people still play this? I mean, the younger generation, right? I mean, these are probably older,
So here's the thing: most of them went extinct in the latter part of the 20th century. I think the one that survived the best was the Braguesa, because even in the turn of the century or shortly thereafter, artists like Biff Achada was playing the Braguesa. So the Braguesa never really disappeared. But some of the other ones did, like the Beiroa from Castelo Branco, that was probably 20 or 30 years out of circulation.
Mm.
But we're not the only ones bringing them back. I mean, Ogajo, which was a part of our collective in the first record, he's now really busy with his solo career, and he's playing the campanisa. He has an instrumental project with the campanisa. He's also sort of a rock and roll guy, but I'll send you some links. Ogajo is amazing, and he's focused on that particular chordophone. Almiri is another one doing electro folk with a lot of sampling. So he's taking a more electronic approach to it. He's using the Braguesa, and he's got another project called Bicho Carpinteiro, also using the Beiroa. So there's a community. There's this sort of scene of
Great.
chordophone activists, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's so wonderful. I mean, I'm just looking at your videos and I see you in the front and you have this presence, right, on stage presence. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of, I don't want to say reminds me of a band in particular, but just the energy of Nick Cave. Yeah, I mean, I
Well,
feel
yeah. I
that
mean,
I feel that,
I
There's,
mean, they played this trick on me where they're like, "Well, yeah, we're going to be in this semicircle, and you have to step up." And I'm like, "Ooh, why do it?" It was like, "Oh, because you're not learning one of these things. You're not playing, so you're just singing. So you have to go up out front." I
no,
said,
it's good.
"Okay,
I
yeah,
like it. I really like it. Yeah, there's that song. What is the name of that song? I like it. It's from Exotica. It's a song from that album.
yeah." I mean,
Yeah.
the thing I love about the show, and when we play live, I actually really really love listening to Micke Ghost singing.
Mhm.
So with the title track of Exotic Ishara, I can just leave the stage and Mickey's singing it, right? So I can just enjoy actually not being on stage and being the ghost and disappearing for a while because he's such a great singer. I mean, and we're into like everything from Scott Walker to Bowie, even
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
1970s Elvis. I mean,
Oh
like
yeah. Those.
I love singing. It's
Yeah, no, you guys do it well, and then in the background you see these guys sitting down, playing all these different chordophones, which is like I can't even begin to. I mean, that's just such a treasure to see that, because bringing back something, and especially music that's been lost, or I know that at one point they were burning these things, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because during the 20th century in the
Mm-hmm.
before the 74 revolution, Portugal was a fascist dictatorship. And, back in those days, what fascism meant was it was about, you're being a patriot and having, looking after your family
Mm-hmm.
and accepting your fate. And so fado music was propped up because it's like fado means fate, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a kind of it's the Portuguese singing of fado is all about accepting your fate, whereas the folk instruments, it was about revolution. It was about sitting down at the end of the day and singing about what went wrong and how you can improve things, so that those instruments were burned because that was sort of looked down upon. It was like not, and then after 74 it sort of came back again. um and it's funny to think about how instruments and styles of music are directly tied to socio-political concerns, but they are, and it's
Really.
funny, going back to what I was saying about Elvis. Nick Cave was one of the few people that went on record
Mm-hmm.
saying that he appreciated what Elvis was doing in the 70s. A lot of people are down on like 70s Elvis because they're like, he was
Yeah.
fat or whatever. But Nick Cave said something that I totally agree with, that was the only artist that could have, tried to bring together all of his influences between gospel, country, rock and roll, bring it all on the same stage with an orchestra and put on this massive show, bringing all these things together. And I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I really, you're absolutely right. I mean, of course, Nick Cave is amazing. I especially really
Yeah,
I love the Bad Seeds. I
oh
sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
lost when Mick Harvey left. I kind of lost interest a little bit.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a Mick Harvey. I'm a Mick Harvey fan.
Yeah, you know the Bad Seeds are all amazing. They're all like very talented musicians in so many ways, including Warren Ellis, which I have a shirt right now I'm wearing.
I see that. I see that.
But
No
yeah,
disrespect. I mean, Mickey Ghost is a big Warren Ellis fan, but
yeah, yeah,
I preferred the songs and the musical direction when Mick Harvey was in the band.
yeah. Well, so your music here. So I know you released like these singles, right? Already, Shameless,
Yeah.
and the Long Train.
Yep.
Is that just the three that you released so far? Because I know you have an album coming out in the sometime very soon.
Yeah. Well, next week on Friday next week, the 25th, we have a new
Okay.
song called September that is coming.
Oh, that's another single.
Yeah, another
Okay,
single,
okay,
and then
September.
the album will be out on September 15th.
September 15. Oh, okay, let's see when it's September 15. Okay, that's great. Okay, so
Yeah.
what is the name of the album?
Well, we weren't we weren't feeling very imaginative, so it's Lusitanian Ghosts 3 because it's
Oh,
the
okay,
third
okay,
out.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
It's
that's right. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, no,
yeah,
that's
we didn't have a snappy title for it.
yeah, but
But we are releasing it on there's two LP versions. There's we'll have to ship you some vinyl to Hawaii because
oh yeah, wow, thank you.
we're
That's
we're
great.
we're releasing it in stereo and mono LPs. So there will be two LPs for those who still like mono. There's
Oh
because
yeah,
I mean
we'll
we're very
pass it over.
fortunate. We did it all on tape.
Hmm.
But you were recorded and mixed on tape. And I guess I'm still traumatized from that album that I lost back in 2005 in Canada. So I still prefer recording on analog.
Oh yeah, yeah. So can you just do a just mention the name of the other musicians in your band? Because
Yeah,
I
sure.
it's
So
a collection.
yes, yeah. So on this record we have on the three chordophones we have Micke Ghost on the vocals and viola amarantina. We have Abel Beja from Primitive Reason and the Big Sinatrio. He's playing the viola terceira from the Azores. Um, and then we have Antonio Bexiga. We call him Tose. Tose Bexiga is playing the viola campanisa from the Alentejo,
Hmm.
which is that heartland of Portugal in the southern part of the continental Portuguese region. So those are the three chordophones. And then we have João Souza on the drums. Back in the rock and roll days, he was called Johnny Dynamite.
Oh,
Um, and so Johnny's on the drums, and then we have another Swede, Jan Erik Olsson, on the bass, but he also plays this other chordophone that was developed recently in Castelo Branco, which is the beirão. It's a larger version of the viola beirua, but done in a bass way, like a quattro. So it's got eight strings, but in a deeper tone. So we have the beirão as well. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody on this. I think it's just the six of us. It's the six of us on this record. We in the previous records we had Gajo also on the Campanisa and Omiri on the Burguesa. But because of their own solo careers, they've become quite busy. So they weren't able to join us in Hamburg for this new record.
so
Although Gajo still, even though he's busy playing his solo shows, he still did the artwork. So he did the
oh,
cover.
oh
He did
yeah,
all the
very very
yeah.
nice. I love the just everything about the music and the covers and everything. So how do you find these musicians? I mean, did you know that they play these instruments or because
Um, no, that's the funny thing. I mean, everything just came together really
oh,
organically, like just word of mouth. Like when Mickey and I wanted to do this thing, he had the viola marantina, and Johnny really wanted. The drummer was, he was really like gung ho for us to do it. He was just like, you can't let this not happen. So talk to Mickey. Let's make this thing happen. Let's make a record. And then when that was happening, it was among our sort of the friends and the people that are part of the same publishing company, the Lusitanian Music Publishing, which I run here in Portugal. Omidi was playing the Burguesa, so I asked Omidi, and Omiri came in, and then Johnny said, we should invite Gajo because he's playing the Campanisa, and then so it just all came together through friends and people we knew. And at first it was a bit weird because you're like, oh, a lot of these projects are using these instruments but singing in Portuguese. We're going to do this in English, and I'm like, yeah, because I've always sung in English my whole life. It
Yeah.
would feel weird singing in Portuguese, and we want to sort of take it outside of Portugal.
Yeah.
And we have a couple Swedes. I mean, Micke Ghost doesn't speak Portuguese; he's Swedish. So it's like it made sense to be international from the get-go. And I also, going back to the Bad Seeds, that was a good reference point, because I remembered at one point, somebody was going like, how are we going to play shows if like four of the people are in Portugal and two are in Sweden? How the hell is it going to work? I said, well, the Bad Seeds, like they had a couple of guys in Berlin,
I know,
a
they're
couple of
all
guys,
over, right?
a couple of guys in London, maybe some in Australia. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. If there's a show to be played, we'll play it. It's,
Yeah. Nikkei's been doing it for years.
yeah. And so it
Yeah.
was just, again, another inspirational influence from the Bad Seeds. So thank you for making that comparison, because it totally sits with us. It's
Well, it's something I felt in the moment, when I saw
yeah,
the video. And the interesting thing about your website, so if people want to check that out, is lusitanianghosts.net.
right.
You can actually find out a little bit more about the band, and there's a documentary film in there as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah.
is I have to finish watching it, but yeah, there is in there, and then there's also a little bit about the chordophones, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, actually, there I think there's a making of the first record on there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we did this chordophone exhibition in Finland, in Turku, at the Sibelius Museum, and that was amazing because we got a bunch of artists together and we flew to Finland and we put on this museum exhibition with the instruments. But there's actually not just a making of, there is a full-length documentary of the first album that never really got wide released, so it's not anywhere at the moment. I might just have to put it up on YouTube or something. I don't know, at some point, because there is a full length. It's not just a making of. There's a
Oh,
full length documentary which isn't out there yet. So, as well as our Setúbal live show, I can send you a link of the whole show, but it's not published anywhere.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and also your music, they can find it. What's the best site to find the music?
Well, the music's everywhere. I
And
mean,
yeah.
the music, whether you listen to Spotify or Apple Music or Deezer or Tidal or whatever, the music is everywhere and you can find it easily. The audio-visual stuff, not so much, but we're going to work on it and figure out where we can put it. Maybe directly on the website, maybe, but it's we're going to try and fill, like, there's going to be a record release show here in Lisbon on October 14th, and we're going to film that one too. I don't know if we might try to live stream it or just film it and have it somewhere afterwards. But I think having the audiovisual stuff, again, Bad Seeds, watching the Live Seeds DVD from Paradiso was like such an amazing moment for me as a kid in the 90s. Like, what is the Paradiso show was what, like 89, 91, something like this.
Uh-huh.
And watching that DVD was just like, yeah, this is what it's about. So yeah, we want to do that. We want to make sure we film the shows, and whether,
Yeah, I'm just bringing back some memories here. Nick Cave actually talks about saudade, and
oh
when it's
yeah, that's right.
spoken
Yeah,
word.
because
Yeah,
he lived in
there's
Brazil,
that
didn't he?
connection.
For yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, very interesting. Wow, I'm so glad that we talked and we did this interview, and I'm learning so much. That I learn a lot from all these my guests, and big shout out to Shameless Promotion PR. Shauna is always amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I'm always amazed at every artist that comes on here.
she was recommended to us by Daryl Bamonte, who of course works with
Oh
or
yeah,
work,
yeah, I know him. I know him
yeah,
too. Amazing.
Depeche Mode and The Cure, and
Yeah.
it's so Daryl said, "Oh, you gotta talk to Sean." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, great. Let's."
And Daryl got some good stuff, he sends all the time too. Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's just he's a good friend, and it's just an incredible
Well,
person
tell
to
him I said
know.
hi.
I will for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah.
Gosh, thank you
I,
so much. And so the album is coming out again, right?
yeah, the album will be out
European Ghost 3.
September 15th. Before that, I'll see Daryl in Berlin the second week of September. We're getting together for a little shindig there. A meetup about music and sync and the environment.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
a Berlin event called Act in Sync that we're gonna, Daryl's gonna be there. I'll join him and a few good people. So I'll tell him you said hi.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. Sometimes I play some of the stuff he sends me all the time, so on the show, and I'll be doing that as well for the new album. And yeah, thank you. And oh, by the way, I took out my ukulele just for this. So this is actually a ukulele from one of the very popular artists here from Hawaii called Taimani Gardner. This is her own brand. It's a Moon brand. It's called Moon. Can't really
Oh,
see it.
nice.
Yeah, then we have another ukulele artist here. His name is Jake Shimabukuro. And he
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, have you played have you guys played in the US?
No, we haven't.
Oh,
We've only played so far in Europe and Portugal, Germany, Finland, and Sweden, I
mhm.
think. No, yeah, we didn't do Denmark. So we've only really played very few shows because when we started, we did a few shows in Portugal and Sweden. Then the pandemic hit. Then we recorded that show in Setúbal in Portugal during the pandemic so we could live stream that one. And then we went to Germany also before the pandemic, but we haven't toured a lot. We haven't played a lot.
Oh yeah, you guys
I
should.
th- yeah, we want to do Canada next year, maybe for Canadian Music Week, and hopefully we'll get out a bit more.
Mm.
Um, but it's also not the easiest. I mean, yeah, like I said before, it's a lot of people on stage, and the travels are a certain logistics. So I don't think we'll be like doing massive tours anytime soon. But we definitely want to get out and play. So it's something
So
that's on the
w- w-
agenda.
when you do live shows, do you have the same musicians?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How many is
But
that? I mean,
right now it's six on stage. It's not.
okay.
We had more before. I think we were at like 8 or 9 with the keyboard player Kanoa at some of the shows. Um, but it depends. It's a collective. So like for example,
Yep.
we did the record as a 6 piece, but if we start playing shows in Gajo or Omiri want to come back into the fold, then we can have a bigger setup live as well. So it just depends on scheduling and how everybody's life is in terms of the individual project schedules.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Gosh, thank you so much for this interview. And of course, lusitanianghost.net if you people are interested checking out your documentary so you can know a little bit more about the wonderful thing you guys are doing with the music. Um and so once again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and
So Neil Leyton.
keep doing what you're doing and spreading the word, and all the best again for all of the victims in the terrible situation
Yeah,
in
thank you.
Hawaii
Yeah, thank
with
you
the
so much.
fires, and I just yeah, we just gotta keep on keeping on and being
Yeah, we have a close ties to Portugal. We have Lusitania, like I mentioned, we have a Lusitania uh streets and places connected here to Portugal, of course. And the what is that bread that we have here is Portuguese. Um
oh,
the
there's a
sweet
bread.
bread. Yeah, it's a sweet bread. God, I can't remember the name right now. I
Oh.
try to avoid it because it's really fattening.
Yeah, I'll bet a lot of the Portuguese
What is it
bakery
called?
is
Yeah.
not there's lots of, yeah, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but there's a lot of sweet bakery stuff with bread and pastries, and
And
I try and stay away myself.
I know, I can't believe I can't remember the name of the bread, and I'm gonna hate myself when I'm remembering that. But it's
Is
it's
it Pão
very
de Ló, for example?
It's a sweet bread. It's really sweet, and it's so fattening, but it's so delicious. Everybody who comes to Hawaii, they always go and get it.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, it has sugar. It's sugar. It's fully sugar coated. Sugar all around.
Yeah, I think it's the
Okay.
Pomme Law or one of those.
Okay. But thank you so much, and congratulations with the new album, and I'm looking forward to more.
Thank you, absolutely, and thank you again for the chat. It's lovely to meet you, and yeah, it's
Yeah, keep up the great work.
I definitely feel that I feel the connection because it's not just the folk instruments and the rock and roll, but also like everything going back to the mod roots of Small Faces and everything. So I just really great
Yeah.
speaking with you. Yeah.
Okay, let me turn this up. Thank you. Let me turn this up, but just don't hang up. Okay, 1 second.